This is Linda Lehrhaupt, and I'd like to welcome you to the Mindfulness-Based Teacher Project. Podcast number 8, When Everything Falls Apart. No matter how long we've been teaching, or how experienced we are, there will be a time when everything falls apart. It's as if the strands of our lesson plan unravel. The exercises, the themes, the questions we wanted to ask, all seem to go nowhere. Desperately, we try another exercise. But that doesn't work either. Panic sets in. And before long, we feel powerless. We feel trapped. There's nothing to do in that situation. The first time this happens, many teachers stick to their lesson plans as if they were holding on for dear life. They look at their notes and say, I'm just going to hang on. There is no alternative. Later, teachers say they feel ashamed because they stuck to the agenda. They come down on themselves about not being courageous enough to let go of it. In fact, for that situation, it might have been the best choice. If one is so brittle and confused, and then try to do something else, it may end up completely discombobulated. Sticking with what we've planned may not reach everybody, but it may resonate with some in the group. And we have another chance the next week. This kind of falling apart almost never happens in the last session. And so even if things are awkward, for the group, it's important that there's a sense of continuity from week to week. After the class is over, a period of self-blame often sets in. We may feel we failed to motivate people, or we didn't see a situation developing and try to steer clear of it. We were boring, confusing, uninspired, unclear, and the list goes on and on. For many, this kind of self-blame feeds into a tendency to feel responsible for everything and to blame oneself. Often, teachers also feel a sense of shame about freezing up and doing what they say is a bad job. And by that, they mean they think they're responsible for not motivating people sufficiently. Even though there may have been extenuating circumstances, for example, that the group had to come to the course. It's so easy to blame oneself. It's really not a question of you should have known better. It's much more a moment of being able to see where we're stuck, to show as much kindness as we can to ourselves, and at the same time acknowledge there are alternatives. But what is possible right now? This moment of gentleness to ourselves may allow some of the freezing to thaw. If not, we can softly acknowledge where we are and continue as planned. This is a kind of courage that is more helpful in teaching than always blazing on, often beyond our boundaries. Robert Makio Rosenbaum writes, "Courage is being willing to find your place exactly where you are, even when you are baffled by unexpected reprieves and puzzled by surprising setbacks." I experienced several different classes in my early years of teaching. I was working for a health group who strongly suggested that staff members attend a week-long stress reduction program. I was the lucky teacher of this highly motivated group. In fact, I later found out that most of them were there because it meant an all expenses paid week off from work. During the sessions, I had a really important experience. Up to that point, I'd worked hard to present themes that were relevant to the group's work situations, but mostly everyone seemed totally disengaged. I could feel myself getting more and more paralyzed as the day went on. I was feeling sorry for myself and sorry for them that they had to, quote, endure, unquote, my teaching. They only seemed to come alive when they shared among themselves in small groups. Finally, I managed to piece together what the problem was by listening to their comments. Basically, they did not feel that their concerns were being addressed. The work we were doing was not personal. It didn't touch them. They didn't see how mindfulness could help them. I hit on a solution more out of desperation than anything else. I called them together in a circle and I said, "I have a sense that what I'm doing is not appropriate or useful for you. Is that true?" What followed was eye-opening for me. Basically, they said, "It's all very interesting what you're doing, and you're okay in presenting it. But what the heck does this have to do with my work?" So I had established a relationship finally between us, and I had named what I was perceiving. I included them, and I asked them for their assessment. Up until that point, I realized I had been teaching in a very top-down style. They heard everything I had to say, but inside them, another tape was playing. This isn't going to work for me. This sounds like some fantasy deal. Oh, it would be nice if everybody was mindful. But when I'm facing one of the people I'm responsible for, and they're screaming at me, how is mindfulness going to help me? I asked them to break up in small groups and talk about a difficult situation in their work life. I added, perhaps choose one where you're kind of proud of keeping your cool and you were able to de-escalate a crisis. When you finish saying what it is, please also share what was it in you that allowed you to do whatever it is you did. Later, I reconvened the group and asked people to name things that they thought were helpful, things about themselves, things about something they noticed in what they did. No one used the word mindfulness, not one. But often something was said that embodied mindfulness, and then I expanded on it by showing how mindfulness practice can help to train that skill so that it isn't haphazard, but that it can be available to us. From that point on, when we practiced an exercise, I would ask them, what makes this a mindfulness exercise? And what do they see could be helpful to them? Could they name the skill or capacity? So my teaching became relational. We were relating to each other and to the material and to ourselves. As a teacher, I was still guiding, shaping, and holding the space open. But the learning was participatory, and it was real for them. Yoga became a rich ground in this respect. For example, at one point a woman said to me, "I'm not used to doing yoga so slowly." I responded, "Yoga can be done at different speeds. Why do you think I did it more slowly than you are used to?" "I'm not sure," she said carefully. "Did you notice a difference between doing it this way and the way you're used to?" I continued. "Yes, I had more time. I liked that. But it was not so easy because I sometimes wanted to push ahead." "So you noticed you wanted to push ahead," I said. "Yes, it was almost like I was on autopilot. But then when I saw I was getting ahead, I could slow down and be back where you were." Can this kind of noticing, what we call in mindfulness being aware, be helpful to you in other situations? I looked at her. "We'll see, won't we?" she said, and winked at me. Thank you for listening to the Mindfulness-Based